I think most people feel like forget about buying a home, even just renting one in Canada is more expensive than it's ever been. According to rentals.ca, the average rent price across Canada is $2,117 a month, with Vancouver and Toronto holding the two highest pieces of real estate on that list. This indicates a 9.6 annual increase. But some major international cities seem to have a better grasp on how to tackle the rental situation. So joining us for a closer look at this is urban planner and professor at Toronto Metropolitan University's School of Urban and Regional Planning, David Mborsi. Good morning.
Good morning.
It's good to take an international look because, boy, we sure feel the squeeze of it here. Just before we get to that context, let's start with what's happening in Canada. Almost a 10% increase on average since just last year. Why is the rental market skyrocketing?
It's the connectivity to the home ownership market that we have increased demand, more people looking for housing. And when the ownership housing becomes more expensive because of rising interest rates, it curtails people from buying housing. So they have to be housed somewhere. So it puts more pressure on the demand for the rental accommodation because people aren't moving out.
Well, here's some monthly rent averages from Seoul, Copenhagen, Vienna, and Melbourne. We really went around the globe. All of those sit under or well under $2,000. So how are big cities like this managing to keep rents affordable?
Some of them are very different housing systems, and some have very different investments historically in social housing or co-op housing. If you look at places like Copenhagen and Vienna, they've had a long history, some as far as 1919, of making significant investments in social housing. In those cities, the social housing stock comprises about 20%, and in some cases, when you add co-op into that, 50% of the housing stock. In a report or a document day before yesterday by the deputy chief economist of CMHC, he estimated that 4% of the rental stock in Canada is social housing. So we haven't had the same investments in social housing to make sure there's an adequate supply of non-market housing as well as the market housing.
Are we comparing apples to apples? When I'm asking you about rental prices in places like Copenhagen and Melbourne, when we're looking at cities like Vancouver and Toronto?
Copenhagen is different because of those massive investments that came into play. We stopped our social housing investment programs in Canada in the early 1990s, where the federal government got out of social and nonprofit housing. And in Ontario, the provincial government really curtailed back in 1998. So we haven't had the investment in the social housing stock. And then on the market housing, the issue has been that if you look at particular sites that are zoned for high density residential, that means they can be used for either condos or purpose-built rental. When developers do the pro forma, the condos would tend to win, so we didn't have a lot of purpose-built rental being built.
A report from the Canadian Mortgage and Housing Corporation says Canada needs to add 3.5 million new homes by 2030 in order to try and bring some balance back to the affordability in the housing market. But not everybody can wait 7 years for that to happen, particularly renters. So what can we do right now to try and improve the situation?
Well, that's the issue. It takes a long time to build these things. And in the first half of this year, we've had the highest number of purpose-built rental starts in Ontario that we've had in several decades. There was 4 times the amount last year. But the starts mean you're starting to build the housing units, and they'll take a couple of years if they're a high-rise development to be built. So that's the issue. So we have to begin to look at how we can increase it now, hopefully for the future. And the federal government took a step forward in that by taking the goods and services tax off the purpose-built rental, and the province followed suit. I think more needs to be done by having accelerated capital cost appreciation and other policies such as that to make it more attractive to build purpose-built rental.
Yeah, it is a tough market out there for renters for sure, and not getting any easier. David, thanks for taking a look around the world with us.
You're welcome.
Hey, thanks for watching. If you liked this, be sure to subscribe here, or you can check out more Your Morning videos right here.